I caught my fiancé testing my loyalty with his single friend. Their faces when I played along were priceless. Have you ever had that moment when someone's attempt to manipulate you backfires so spectacularly that you can't help but admire the cosmic justice? 3 weeks before my wedding, I experienced exactly that kind of delicious karma. My fiancé, Eden, Jake and I had been together for 4 years. We'd weathered long distance, career changes, and even caring for his mother through a health scare. Trust had never been an issue, or so I thought. That Friday, Jake mentioned his friend Chris was in town and suggested we all meet for drinks. I'd heard about Chris for years but never met him. He lived across the country and apparently had quite the reputation as a ladies' man. Finally, the mysterious Chris, I said. I was beginning to think he was imaginary. Jake laughed nervously. He's definitely real. Just be yourself tonight, okay? Something in his tone felt off, but I brushed it aside. When we arrived at the upscale bar downtown, Chris was already there, tall, conventionally handsome, and exuding the kind of confidence that walks the line between charming and arrogant. Jake introduced us briefly before excusing himself to take an important work call outside. The moment Jake left, Chris's demeanor changed. He moved closer, ordered me a drink I hadn't asked for, and began complimenting everything from my eyes to my career choices. When his hand touched my knee under the table, alarm bells started ringing. Jake talks about you constantly, he said, but he never mentioned how stunning you are. That's when it clicked. A nervous laugh, the be yourself comment, Jake's conveniently timed work call. This wasn't a friendly meetup. It was a test. Jake had asked his friend to hit on me to see if I'd stay loyal. I felt a surge of emotions, hurt, anger, disappointment. But instead of causing a scene, a different idea formed. If Jake wanted a show, I'd give him one he wouldn't forget. I leaned in closer to Chris. You know what's funny? Jake never mentioned how charming you are, either. I let my hand briefly touch his, making sure it was visible from the window where I'd spotted Jake watching us. Chris looked surprised, but pleased. So hypothetically speaking, if Jake wasn't in the picture. Hypothetically speaking, I said, twirling my hair. I believe in exploring chemistry when I feel it. I took out my phone. We should exchange numbers. You know, just to have. Chris was practically gloating as he handed me his phone. Instead of entering my number, I opened his messages. There it was, a text exchange with Jake from earlier that day. Jake, just see if she flirts back. Don't take it too far, Chris. What if she actually goes for it, Jake? She won't. But if she does, I need to know before the wedding. I took a photo of their conversation, then called Jake's number from Chris's phone. Through the window, I saw him jump, then look down at his phone in confusion. You should answer it, I said loudly enough for Chris to hear. Your test results are ready. The color drained from Chris's face as Jake walked back in phone, still ringing in his hand. Your friend was just showing me your texts, I said calmly, sliding Chris's phone across the table. The ones where you asked him to hit on me as a test, Jake stammered, looking between us. It's not. I needed to be sure. And I needed a fiancé who doesn't test me like I am a suspicious lab sample, I replied, removing my engagement ring. I placed the ring on the table, picked up my purse, and walked out with more dignity than I felt. Through the window, I saw Chris and Jake arguing, both gesturing wildly at each other, and then at the door I just exited. The next day, flowers arrived. The day after, tearful phone calls. By the end of the week, Jake's mother was calling me, begging me to reconsider, but some bells can't be unrung. I canceled the wedding and took the honeymoon trip to Greece by myself. The resort obligated me to a suite when they heard my story. On my last night there, the waiter, who had been serving me all week, finally asked why I was alone in the honeymoon suite. After I told him, he shook his head and said something I'll never forget. Some men spend so much time worrying about whether they've caught the right fish that they don't notice they're drowning. 6 months later, I am dating someone who has never once felt the need to test me, and Jake, last I heard, he and Chris had a falling out. Referentially, trust issues don't just disappear when you change the target. Sometimes the most valuable test results are the ones that reveal the truth about the person doing the testing.